Okay, I'm at 100 McArthur Lane in Erlanger, Kentucky, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. Our access point is a outside clean out here right in the driveway. If you see the house there, and as you bring it down, you'll see coming down the driveway. This was installed. You can actually see the square cut out. And the good news is we can go both directions. It's a two-way clean out. So what we're going to do first is go upstream back in towards the house, and we will go as far as we can. So, a little bit of, whoa, alright, well, immediately we have some root intrusion here. It's not covering the flow line exactly, but that is a pretty good amount of roots. It's probably covering 70 to 80% of the area of the pipe in that cross section. And so we will continue to, we have some stuff on the front of the camera, so hopefully we can pull, or we can push all the way back into the house. And then we'll be able to rinse the camera off, and we'll be able to see a lot more as we pull back. Roots are not uncommon at all in clay. In fact, that's probably why this clean out was installed, is to give better access. There's probably not really good access in the house. And so to make it easier to access it and with the machine and to get a larger, this is a 4-inch opening, or actually it's a 6-inch opening, I'm sorry, which would allow somebody to get a 6-inch double cut, like a double knife through is what they call it. And so it's a larger cutter head, and what that does is it allows them to cut through the roots really well, and be able to almost basically cut all the roots out to the best possibility. If using the right machine, that's what a good sewer cleaner would want, is something like this. Sometimes they will, on smaller openings, if they can only use even a 4-inch double knife and a 6-inch pipe, it won't get all the roots out. And so this is great access for someone for maintenance. And the tree here just to the left of the driveway on the neighbor's yard is something that obviously the only tree near here, and the homeowner can't do anything about it because it's not their tree. So they can either maintenance the line here by periodic cleaning and or chemical treatments. They make a chemical called Root X that you could put through the line about once a year or so, that would also could help keep the roots down. It's just has a foaming action, and as you run it down through the line, water will carry it, it'll catch onto the roots, and then it kind of burns them back without killing the tree. And so in this situation though, you have very good access for mechanical cleaning, which if done well and the way that I just described, you can have that done every 3 to 5 years. If you use a chemical treatment in between, you could probably get a lot longer than that. There are permanent solutions or permanent fixes, such as liners, or just plain digging it up and replacing it, but it's not usually needed. They've been maintaining these clay sewers for decades, and as long as you do a little bit of maintenance, they'll hold up, and as long as you keep the roots from growing so big that they start breaking the pipe, this can be maintained for years to come. So I'm going to pause the video for a second. We're going to go in, run a little bit of water, see if we can rinse the camera head off, and that way when we pull back, we'll be able to see a lot better. Okay, we've got the water running, but there we go. That's what we're looking for. Make sure this is, and I may end up having to turn it off again. So I'm going to actually go up and turn the water back off for a second. Good. So that was coming from the stationary tub there. And we still have the sink running in the kitchen, but hopefully that'll bring it down a little bit. There we go. And so you have some cast iron on the interior, which is normal for the home, the age of the home. Cast iron isn't bad, but it will eventually rust. So there's no real way of gauging, kind of how much life is left in the cast iron pipe. But this looks very, it looks like it's in very, very good shape. A lot of times you'll have a lot of rust build up, and on cast iron, and so in this case the water's running right into the face of the camera, so it's kind of hard, but you can see, and I could see as I pulled back, I'm used to looking at it, how open this line is. A lot of times the rust will build up and it'll be really rough. But just a couple notes on cast iron, you only have a couple feet of it, but the cast iron is a little more likely to cause, like, we call them soft clogs, which is essentially when you have excessive toilet paper, or a big problem is wet wipes. And it's because, in this case, this is very, very good looking cast iron, really is. A lot of times they're really, really rough, and so they can easily catch things like wet wipes. You never want to use them in general, but even if they say flushable, don't use them. And in cast iron, they're a little more likely to catch on the cast iron and cause backups. So just to, I put it in every video and every report of mine that has cast iron pipe. And then as it drops over, it should be 4-inch cast iron dropping into a 6-inch clay, and then you have some root intrusion around that area, and it's fairly common to have that. But again, this is not unusual at all to have root intrusion in clay lines. But as we pull back, we'll kind of show you what, if any, I feel is the worst part, or if there's any issues. Really what we're looking for is to make sure there's no structural issues. The root intrusion, like I said, it will be called out, but mainly it'll be for a maintenance schedule. Basically, you'll have to kind of set up a maintenance schedule to take care of these on a yearly basis, or less frequently, excuse me, if you're going to use a mechanical cleaner to do all of it. But you can see how the roots themselves a little bit getting in, and what they do is they get in at the seams. You have like a male-female connection point, and they will, the connection point, you can see that's where the roots are getting in. A lot of the time over the years, you'll have some, basically the packing at those joints will kind of shrink or loosen up a little bit, and there's nothing that a tree likes more than water and fertilizer all in one place. So as you can tell as we pull back that they're getting in at these sections. And so this one is pretty heavy, and it's getting down into the flow line. As you can see, it's starting to reach into the flow line, and that could potentially catch some toilet paper or something on the way down. And that was at, what is that, about 15 feet, 16 feet. So 16 and 13, and you can see how frequently there are connections. These with clay lines, they're only about 3-foot sections, so they're really short, and so there's a lot of opportunity for intrusion also. So I said it's very, very common. I'd say probably roughly 80 to 90% of all the lines I inspect that are clay have root intrusion of some type. The worst one is here. I think this is the one. It's about 8 feet in, and it's not really 8 feet from the clean out. That's just 8 feet on the video. This thing measures by the rotation of the drum, and so it's not super accurate, but I could always locate the exact location of the camera if necessary. So upstream, the line is functional and structurally looks good. Just have some root intrusion. The worst one is about 8 feet, but it extends up to about 16, 20 feet. There's root intrusion, which is kind of the further away from the tree you get, the less root intrusion there was, but it goes all the way up to the connection of the cast iron. The worst section is the first 16 feet upstream. So now I've turned, you can tell by the water flowing at the back of the camera. Now I've turned and gone downstream, and I don't know how much of this side has been replaced. They may have replaced it out to the main. I'm not really sure. But we'll find that out as we go. So as we go downstream, this is a green PVC, so we hope that stays that way. Now we are running water, so of course it may fill up more. You can see the water line. It's not uncommon to have a little bit of a section like that where it holds a little bit of water. A camera lens is only a half an inch off the bottom of the pipe. And so in a 6-inch diameter pipe, it's still very, very little water. So far it looks like they've replaced from this clean out all the way out to the main, which is very good news as far as root intrusion is concerned. We probably only have to go upstream. Of course, now we've gone back into clay. And you have some. And then we're going back again. Somehow some leaves got in here. It looks like when they put it together, they caught some leaves in there. But we're back into PVC. So there's only a little tiny section of clay there, and then they're probably getting pretty close to. Yep. So there was another repair made. Rather nasty looking, but mostly that's just spider webs and stuff as we drop down vertically into the main. And so downstream, the line looked really good. No issues at all on the downstream side. You just have some root intrusion at about the first 18 feet or 16 feet or so. And it does look like there's a little bit of root intrusion here at the tap. But if that ever causes an issue, that is the responsibility of the municipality, or SD1 in this case, the sewer department. They would, if this broke at all, right here at this tap, they would fix it. And so there is some root intrusion here at about 46 feet downstream, but it's at the tap, and I'll mention that also in the report. But mainly what you're trying to do here is just maintenance the line. Like I mentioned, I would put some Rudex in it maybe once a year. I would have it cleaned initially here, just to be sure that you don't have any just to clear it up, because there were some pretty big sections of roots there, the worst one being at about 8 feet. I think I got some spider webs on the front of my camera now, and that's why it's so blurry and we can't rinse it off. But yeah, I would have it cleaned initially, and then once a year put some root X down there, and then maybe in about 5 years or so have have another inspection done to kind of gauge the root growth and see how well the maintenance is doing on the line, and make sure that you have a good handle on how much roots are growing. So that you know if your maintenance is working, if the maintenance schedule is good, or if you need to either increase it or lengthen the time in between treatments. But we are all the way back out of the clean out, and so to sum up, everything looked really good structurally, but we did have some root intrusion for about the first 16 feet upstream, and then downstream at the tap 46 feet, I guess. There is some more root intrusion, but it's not in the flow line, and it's at a spot on the tap where probably if you use the root treatment and read the directions, that will probably do enough to keep that one downstream at bay. But if it ever does cause any damage to the line, that is the responsibility of the sewer department to repair. Overall, the line again looks good structurally, just a little bit of maintenance, and the line should be fully functional for years to come. So that'll end the inspection at 100 McArthur Lane in, what is this, Erlanger, Kentucky.